Hi, today on GameKids we are at the Wiki Wiki Worm Factory in Kalaheo, Kauai.
Today we are here with Uncle Ned and Uncle Brad.
Welcome to the Wiki Wiki Worm Ranch. We're in Kalaheo, Kauai, and we do worms, which are really good for the planet. And we hope that you'll learn something today.
How did you get into worming?
Well, there was a composting workshop sponsored by the county many years ago, and they said worms were really good for the planet, and it was a really good fertilizer for your garden. And we had a garden and we had a planet, and we thought, really good idea. So we got some worms and we started breeding them, and next thing you know, we've got a whole bunch of worms, and we're trying to get them out to everybody on the island.
What is the biggest or longest worm?
So there are about 4,000 different kinds of species of worms in the world. And I think probably the longest that I know of is South Africa, and it's 22 feet long. They have worms in Australia that can grow up to 6 feet long. So the little worms that we have are pretty dinky compared to that.
Can you just use any kind of worm for composting?
Well, not really. So there are three basic kinds of worms. The kind that live way down deep in the ground, and then there's the kind that live kind of in the middle area, and that's kind of what you're going to find in your garden. And then there's the composting worms, tend to live up on top of the surface, and they're pretty common, but not. You got to have a specific kind of worms. So these worms that we raise are what's called red wigglers, or Icenia fetida, for those of you who are keeping track at home. And so there's a number of other kinds of worms that work really well for composting, but you really want a worm that will do good in a small space with lots of organic material.
What do you feed them? How often?
We feed them pretty much kitchen scraps and vegetables and shredded paper, cardboard, that kind of thing. Mainly, they're really good for a household. So when you get done fixing your dinner for the night and you make a salad or you make some veggies or something like that, you take those and you put them in the worm bin. And the next day, the worms started eating them. And it really depends on how often you feed them, depends on how many worms that you've got in your bin. And the worms double in population every 3 months. So they get twice as many worms every 3 months. So basically you want to feed them almost their whole body weight every day, because they eat a lot. So it really kind of goes and goes and goes. You can feed them every day. These guys, there's a lot in here, we need to feed them pretty much every other day. Let's harvest them first, and then we'll feed them a little bit. Okay, so to harvest the worms, we have them in a special bin like this. And the neat thing about this bin is it has a bunch of holes in the bottom. So can you get close up there? And now the worms are going to dive down real quick. So can you guys see?
No, I can't see.
You see?
I can definitely see.
Ready? You see them?
Yeah. Oh, there's none worms. Oh, Ned. Oh, there's 1,000 over there.
Yeah, so there's a lot of worms in there.
Whoa. Yeah, and there's down here too.
So I'm going to put some down so we can harvest some. And put them right in front of you guys. So
Oh my
back
God,
up just a little.
So not touching one.
You're not going to touch any?
Gloves if you want, but you don't have to touch
Okay, let me see. Yeah, that's really good, like what you're doing.
Me?
Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Just pick some up like that.
Huh?
Show your face in the picture too, so pull it up to your face. Yeah.
Okay, well, I tell you what, while we got this worm out here,
Yeah.
See this little part of him?
That's the butt head. No, it's the head.
See, there's a little part that's a little bit whiter right there,
Yeah.
a little wider. That's how you tell where the front of the worm is. And that's where the boy and girl parts are.
Now see how they're starting to disappear from the top of the pile?
Yeah.
They're all trying to hide from the light now.
Ew, did it pee at me?
Maya,
Still working on that.
we'll you know, get
Clean
you,
it.
get you so you can wash your hands off. All right, so now let's peel this back a little bit. We'll put some of these
Oh, there's a
over.
worm right there.
Yeah. So what's going to happen? See, look at how many more worms there are down at the bottom. So we're kind of peeling them off. Look at that. See how they're all going down to hide from the light.
You gotta touch one.
No, you don't have to.
Hey!
I'm a girl.
Really?
They're just worms.
It's dirt.
Yeah, so it's just dirt.
Look at this. Something
Look at
with the head.
So there's a lot of worms.
Yeah. More in here.
Yeah, there's a lot more in there. They're all.
So if you want to separate just pure worms and put them in here, that's how we harvest and separate the worms.
There you go.
Oh, somebody put the whole thing in there. We gotta take the.
Let's take this out.
Yeah, only worms only.
Worms only. So if you just grab worms, see the pile of worms right there? If you just get the worms, you can grab a bunch at once.
Yeah, right.
A whole pile.
It's kind of hard with the gloves on, huh?
Yeah.
You can take the gloves off.
That's why I
if you want.
don't like gloves. Okay.
Just get in there.
Here, I'll
grab yourself a pile of worms. Like that.
Sister.
Lily, yours is hilarious. You're like, sister.
There we go. Now we're getting some action.
Oh,
I
yeah.
might have to hire you guys
Oh,
full
yeah.
time.
Look at that.
There's some worms going on. Now we're talking.
There's one on my hand.
Yeah, that's a little baby worm. See how small he is?
They look like little. They look like baby snakes.
Real small little snakes.
I touched a non-poison snake. Yeah, you don't touch worms.
They're just like snakes. How can you not touch
You're doing
worms?
great. That's a great job you guys are
You're
doing.
doing really good.
Oh, yeah.
You have a big future in worm farming, I can tell.
And did you guys
Look
notice?
at that,
Did
Kahu.
everybody notice that it doesn't smell?
Bam.
It doesn't smell bad?
No, it does not. Well, it smells just like chocolate.
There you go.
Chocolate.
No,
Wow.
seriously, it does. It's like 1,000 worms.
So you can actually have this right in your house under the sink and it won't.
No, it
Won't
wouldn't
smell
even
up the house.
Oh, yeah.
There's a big bunch.
No, I just loves worms.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
They look like
love
little brown noodles.
Come on, little worms. Where
There
are
you
you?
go.
Your hand. There's no worm. Yes, there is.
No, I know.
So the worms, the way they make babies, each worm is a boy and a girl at the same time. So you see this little part on the front to the worms that has the little wider band on the bigger worms? See, like right there. That part, that's where the reproductive organs are.
Oh, I know how they make it.
And so what they do is one worm will get with the next worm and they just kind of trade or DNA material. And so each one gets a little bit from the other one. And then they lay an egg, or actually it's a cocoon. So that little broad spot on the front of the worm will actually kind of ball up and roll off the worm, and it'll turn into a cocoon. And a couple of weeks later, the baby worms will come out, and that's where we get the little small worms, like this guy right there. That's a little small worm.
Are the ones that I have in my hand right now? And this guy right
That's
here.
a pretty big worm there.
No, right there.
Oh, that one. Yeah. So then each cocoon has maybe 2 or 3 worms in it. and they're making babies all the time.
Oh, he's going crazy.
Okay, there we go. Good work.
Good harvesting.
Good
Baby
harvesting.
one's right there.
Okay, so that's how we harvest the worms. And so the next part of it, the easy part of it, is let's show how we feed the worms.
Okay.
Let's stop
So,
doing this.
okay, so let's say we're fixing dinner for the family, right? And what are we having for dinner tonight? Well, I think we should probably have some potatoes. I like potatoes. Do you like potatoes?
Yeah.
Potatoes are really good.
Really good.
Oh, but you know what? We had so many potatoes already, everybody's full. So here's some potato pieces that we didn't eat. So we have a little compost pail. And you can see we got coffee grounds and strawberries from breakfast this morning.
Oh yeah.
And they love coffee grounds. And there's a paper towel in there too, whatever. So, okay, well, so we fixed up all our potatoes and we're done with those, and we just kind of throw the scraps in there. And let's say we're having broccoli for dinner. And we cooked it all up and we had some left over. And we said, oh, you know, that's really more than we need. So let's kind of just chop that up. And we'll put that in the compost bin too. And we just kind of chop it up into small little bits to make it easier for the worms to eat it. So we'll just kind of chop this up. Toss all that in there. And so then we had salad for dinner too. But we had more salad than we needed. So we're going to take the lettuce and we're just going to chop it up. I think we got some parsley in there too, and just whatever kind of greens you got for your dinner, your veggies, that kind of thing is really good. And really the only thing that the worms don't like, they don't like meat and they don't like dairy, meaning cheese or milk or sour cream or that kind of thing. But everything else they pretty much will eat. And, you know, probably wouldn't want to give them really hot peppers because they'll kind of go, whoa, that's too hot. But pretty much everything else is fair game. They'll eat it. So now we have a little compost pail, and I like to keep mine underneath the kitchen sink. Some people keep them out on the counter. And basically you just kind of take it out, and when you get done for the day or every 2 days, you just kind of take your compost pile and you come over to your worm bin and you just dump it in. Okay, that's probably good enough for these guys right now. And then we're going to put some paper on top. Do you have any paper?
I'll grab some paper.
So we're going to put a layer of paper on top. And you can see here on the side, see how this is all, that's paper?
Yeah.
This was all plain paper just 2 or 3 days ago, and the worms started eating on it. And they've turned it into dirt already. So if we come back and look at this in the next, so basically we just kind of cover it up with some paper, and then that's pretty much all we need to do. We'll put the lid back on and the worms will do the rest. And we'll come back in a couple of days and they'll be ready for some more. Yay! Okay, so that's how we harvest them and feed them.
What do you do with the poop?
Well, I put it in my garden because that's what it's really good for. Yeah, well, it's probably the best fertilizer that there is in the world. And the reason why it is because you don't have to use any petroleum or products or manufacture or anything like that. It all happens right here. It all happens out in the forest all by itself, but we just kind of sped up the process and concentrated it into the worm bin. So it goes on all the time. And what they do is they turn it into food for the plants. So after we feed them and let them work on it for a couple of days, if you look down below, you'll see really good dirt. Looks just like dirt. So you take this and put it in your garden, and it's really great fertilizer, and your plants will go, thank you, Uncle, that was really good. Can I have some more, please? And so that's what it looks like right out of the bin. If you want it, we sell it and fix it for people who don't have worm bins. So we make it nice and fluffy and clean. So that's the fancy worm poop.
How long does it take to make good poop?
We can probably fill up one of these trays in about 3 months. So this tray has probably been filled up at least 5 or 6 times, yeah?
Right. You want to show them the bottom tray? Show them how much
Yeah.
is in there?
So that's the super compressed worm poop. And you can see the bottom here. This has got little holes in it. So when the worms get done eating all the food and there's no food left, they crawl up to the next tray. All right, and so this is super good worm juice. And this is probably 4 or 5 months old, something like that. And you can see there's not very many worms in it. Hardly any worms at all. There's a few over here on the side. We'll just take those guys and put them in the top. All right, so we'll put this back on here, like that. So as they get done with dinner, they crawl up through it. And what we'll do, when this tray gets full up to the top, after they've been eating on it or whatever, and it's too full to put any more stuff in there, we'll take another tray that's got holes in the bottom, and we'll put it on top, and we'll do the same thing all over again. Put in some food, put in some paper, and then the worms will go, hey, there's really good stuff upstairs. Let's go upstairs and see what's for dinner.
It's like food everywhere.
It's like a worm condo.
Food.
It's like a big hotel for worms.
I can't see.
You can't see? Okay, well, it's getting kind of tall.
Yeah.
But there's nothing happening in this one yet because the worms haven't gotten there. And they're going, hey man, quit messing with my house. Everything was fine until you guys came along. I was just having dinner. So basically, I mean, remember how when we first opened it up, there was all those worms in there?
Yeah.
So they've all crawled down, way down deep.
Oh, I can't
But
see.
they're still there. Oops.
Yep.
There you go.
Are there
Can you see those?
worms down here too on the
There's not very many down there.
What is down here?
So what this bottom part is see this juice in the front? So this juice here is what comes out of the bottom of the trays. And when you put veggies in there, vegetables are mostly water, right? So the worms kind of pee and poop. And this is the pee, and the poop stays in the tray. And they're both really good fertilizers. Poop and pee. So we use both kinds on the garden. You can the liquid kind, you spray it right on the leaves, or you can put it on the roots. But you like veggies, don't you?
Yeah, I love my veggies.
You love your veggies? What kind of veggies do you like?
Strawberries.
Strawberries. I like strawberries too. I had strawberries for
Grapes.
breakfast.
Yeah, strawberries. Oh yeah, mangoes. I love mangoes.
Mangoes. There you go.
I know.
Yeah. So all those fruits and vegetables, how do you think they grow? They got to have stuff from the dirt to make them grow. The poop from the worms is what helps the plants grow up and make really good strawberries and mangoes and watermelons and all sorts of stuff. So that's pretty much the story of the worms is they break down the food that we don't eat, and then we put it back into the garden, and it makes new food for us to eat. Okay, so these are just plain old plastic bins that you buy at the hardware store or wherever you get them. And basically, you take a bin like this and you get your drill and you put holes in the bottom, right? And see how I got holes along the top and the side?
Yes.
Okay, so then I put it in there like that. So that way the worms have lots of oxygen. They get lots of air through all the little air holes. And if they get liquid building up inside, it'll go down into the bottom. So this is a quick and easy way to make your own worm bin at home. And it costs you maybe 15 bucks, you know, something like that. And all you need is some bins and a drill and a drill bit, and you drill some holes like that. And then you take some paper. And this is just shredded junk mail, and it's got a little newspaper mixed in there. Whatever you got, any kind of shredded paper is really good. Shredded cardboard, stuff like that. So we put that in there like that. And I'm going to take my squirter and I'm going to put it on mist. I want the paper to be nice and moist. I want the paper to be like like a pile of wet leaves out in the forest, like a wrung out sponge. So you can see it's getting damp. You know,
What does damp mean?
damp means it's got water on it. So it's nice and moist like that. So now all we have to do is, remember how you guys harvested all those worms?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna put the worms in, and now they're gonna live in their new home.
They're still worms.
Oops, still worms, all right. Ah. All right, and now we're gonna feed them, right? So the veggies that we had from dinner last night, you just take them, put those in there like that. Put some good coffee grounds in there. They love coffee grounds. Here's an old paper towel. Strawberries for breakfast, that's always good. And broccoli from lunch. And some potatoes. Yeah, so they have a nice varied diet like that. And then we
Can you cover it?
cover it with a little bit more paper. And we're gonna squirt that with a little bit more water too. So everything's nice and covered up.
Just cover it.
And there you go. Instant worm bin.
Wiki Wiki Worm Ranch. Wiki Wiki Worm Ranch. Wiki Wiki Worm Ranch.
Wiki Wiki Worm Ranch. Wiki Wiki Worm Ranch.
Wiki Wiki Worm Ranch. Wiki Wiki Worm Ranch.
Hey, it's like a tongue twister.
Wiki Wiki Mahi ai koe.
On behalf of GameKids, we would like to thank Uncle Ned and Uncle Brad because we have learned a lot of things about worms.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming to the Wiki Wiki Worm Ranch. We are really happy to have you guys here, and you are excellent worm ranchers. Matter of fact, we're going to make you unofficial worm ranchers from here on out. You're a worm lasso.
You're worm wranglers now.
You're official worm wranglers. Yeehaw!
Hey! Yeehaw!
Head 'em up, move 'em out.